In the bustling heart of Bogotá, amidst the pulsating beats that course through the city's vibrant nightlife, the paths of John Poulos and Valentina Trespalacios fatefully intersected. John, a 35-year-old Texas native, was an enigma, a foreigner whose presence in Colombia was as intriguing as it was nondescript. Although some locals were familiar with him, his past remained largely a mystery due to his sporadic references to life in the United States. Valentina, on the other hand, was a rising star in the DJ scene. Her music, an electrifying blend of tradition and innovation. At 23, her life was a luminous thread in the fabric of Bogotá's cultural tapestry. Her potential, limitless. Her future, bright. When John entered her world, it was as if two universes had collided, each drawn to the other's glaring differences and the thrill of the unknown. Their relationship was a tempest, a whirlwind of passion and intensity that those in their inner circle described with a mix of awe and concern. There were moments of pure elation, snapshots of a love that transcended language and culture, punctuated by dark instances of jealousy and fierce arguments that hinted at a volatile undercurrent. Weeks turned into months, and the initial exhilaration of John and Valentina's romance began to fray at the edges, revealing the fragile foundation beneath. Friends of Valentina spoke of her increasing unease, her subtle withdrawal, and her cryptic allusions to feeling trapped. Then, in a twist that would plunge a community into mourning, Valentina disappeared. The search for Valentina was frantic and fraught with dread. Family, friends, and fans clung to hope, even as the hours stretched into days. The investigation led authorities on a winding path through Bogotá's streets, with John's inconsistent accounts raising red flags. The discovery of Valentina's body, discarded in a dumpster and hidden within a suitcase, turned the missing persons case into a hunt for a murderer. The evidence, a tapestry of forensic findings, witness testimonies, and digital footprints, cast a glaring spotlight on John Poulos. John became a ghost, his disappearance following Valentina's discovery igniting an international manhunt that spanned borders and captured global attention. It was as though he had vanished into thin air, his trail cold, his whereabouts unknown. Colombian authorities, in collaboration with international agencies, pieced together his potential escape route, a puzzle that led them through a labyrinth of cities, airports, and dead ends. The breakthrough came in Panama. John's capture was cinematic in its intensity, the result of a relentless pursuit by law enforcement across different nations. He was found attempting to board a flight to Istanbul. His appearance altered, but his identity undeniable. The world collectively exhaled, but the relief was fleeting and overshadowed by the seriousness of the trial that lay ahead. The legal proceedings were a spectacle, with the grief-stricken family of Valentina facing the man accused of extinguishing a life so bright. The evidence was damning. Forensic experts detailed the meticulous analysis of the crime scene. Digital analysis provided a haunting timeline, crafted from the couple's electronic communications, and eyewitnesses recounted the tumultuous nature of John and Valentina's relationship. John's defense was a tapestry of denial, confusion, and claims of a conspiracy, but the prosecution's case seemed bulletproof. The trial was more than a legal procedure. It was a narrative unfolding, a story of love, betrayal, and the darkest corners of the human psyche. In the aftermath of the trial, with John Poulos facing a lengthy prison sentence, there was no true sense of closure, only a semblance of justice. The public, the media, and the experts had all examined the story. But why? Remained the key question. What drives a man to commit an act so heinous? Valentina's legacy lives on in her music, in the memories of those who danced to her beats, and in the hearts of those who loved her. Her death sparked a dialogue about domestic violence, about the shadows that lurk within seemingly normal relationships, and about the voices that go unheard until it's too late. The case of John Poulos and Valentina Trespalacios is a tragedy, a stark reminder of the fragility of life, and a call to listen closer, to see the unseen, and to speak for the silent. In Valentina's memory, foundations were established, laws were re-examined, and a collective vow was whispered: never again. Because every Valentina deserves a future where their music never stops, their light never dims, and their life is unmarred by another's darkness. John Poulos, 35, was a mystery. An American citizen with ties to Texas, his life in Colombia was punctuated by his relationship with Valentina, a union that, to the outside eyes, embodied passion and adventure. Yet beneath the veneer of romance, there lurked something darker, an undercurrent of jealousy and possession that would ultimately lead to catastrophe. Following Valentina's death, John's subsequent disappearance offered more questions than answers. His frantic flight from justice would span countries, drawing the focused gaze of international law enforcement, determined to uncover the truth. Valentina Trespalacios was not just a person, she was a movement, a rhythm that reverberated far beyond her physical existence. In her death, she became a symbol. Her story became a rallying cry that galvanized not just the music community, but society at large. Vigils were held in her honor, and her tracks were played in clubs and festivals around the world. In tribute to her influence and talent, she became the face of campaigns against domestic violence. Her story, a harrowing reminder that danger often lurks where it's least expected. In Colombia and beyond, legislation was reevaluated. Valentina's Law, a set of policies aimed at preventing domestic violence and supporting victims, was introduced. Its name is a testament to the power one individual's story can have in effecting systemic change. Educational programs in schools and community centers were established, focusing on healthy relationships, consent, and the warning signs of abuse. The music industry, too, took a stand. Concerts were organized in Valentina's name, with proceeds going to charities dedicated to similar causes. Discussions about mental health, toxicity in relationships, and the importance of intervention and support systems became prominent topics in artist communities globally. Conversely, John Poulos became a subject of study, a human enigma that both legal and psychological experts sought to understand. What was the catalyst for his actions? Was it an irreparable moment of passion, a premeditated act of malice, or the culmination of a series of unaddressed psychological issues? Profilers and psychologists dissected his background, looking for clues in his upbringing, his relationships, and his possible struggles with mental health. The public fascination with his motives was insatiable, but the answers remained as elusive as the man himself. In-depth analysis and interviews only provided glimmers of understanding, painting a picture of a complex individual whose internal turmoil ultimately led to tragedy. As the dust settled on the trial and the media frenzy waned, those closest to Valentina and John were left with fragments of what was and what could have been. Unanswered questions lingered like shadows, and the search for understanding continued, a never-ending quest to make sense of the senseless. For those who knew Valentina, her absence was a chasm that pulsated to the beats of her music. They found solace in her art and in the connection she created that defied the mortal realm. Her legacy was etched in the tracks she produced, the life she touched, and the changes she unknowingly spearheaded in death. The tragedy of Valentina Trespalacios and John Poulos is a haunting melody, a refrain that speaks of lost potential and the dualities of human nature. It's a reminder of the ripples one life can create, the echoes that can resound in eternity. In the end, Valentina's music plays on, a lasting memory, a tribute, a warning, and a hope for a future where love does not harm and passion does not consume. The chase for John Poulos was as relentless as it was expansive. From the vibrant streets of Bogotá to the bustling corridors of Panama's airports, law enforcement agencies across nations collaborated in a feat of international justice. Their quarry, determined to evade capture, was ultimately cornered in Panama as he attempted a desperate escape to Istanbul. With Poulos' arrest, there was an audible exhale, a moment of respite in a case that raced against time. Yet for those who loved Valentina, the wounds remained fresh. The memories, a bittersweet reminder of a life stolen from them. The world would remember her as a victim, a young woman whose life tragically mirrored the lyrics of love lost and opportunities unfulfilled. But to those who danced to her music, laughed in her company, and now mourn in her absence, Valentina's legacy is indomitable. She lives on in the beats that still reverberate through Bogotá's clubs, in the silent resolve of a community unwilling to forget, and in the international dialogues now ignited about violence, justice, and the sanctity of life. For John Poulos, the path ahead is uncertain, mired in legal proceedings and the weight of a crime that spans continents. His capture is not the end, but the beginning of a journey for truth and accountability. The story of Valentina Trespalacios and John Poulos is a haunting melody that speaks to the dualities of human nature, the capacity for love, and the propensity for destruction. It's a reminder that among us walk both the extraordinary and the ominous, sometimes colliding in ways that leave indelible marks on the tapestry of our shared human experience. As the legal chapters in this international tragedy continue to unfold, one truth remains steadfast. Valentina was a bright light, extinguished too soon. But her melody will play on in the hearts of those who remember, ensuring that even in death, her voice will never truly be silenced.